Time to shine today, podcast varsity squad. This is Scott Ferguson. I got somebody that was introduced to me by the master connector himself, Steve Spiro. And Steve never goes wrong with who he introduces me to. I had to get Jeff on, Jeff Wickersham on a little bit earlier than what most of our protocol has, just because he's going to rock. This is the beginning of the year, and he's going to help you really level up. He's a highly sought after mental toughness and peak performance coach who helps guide clients to intentionally step into the best versions of themselves and unlock that inner hero waiting to be unleashed. Jeff is a #1 best-selling author, Tony Robbins award winner, podcast host, speaker, creator of the 4-step morning fire methodology, and founder of Morning Fire Coaching. If you have that itch that you can be more, do more, want more, Jeff can help you get there. You know, he's all about closing the gap between your potential and where you are now, and it's perfect for your squad of listeners. So, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. Please introduce yourself to Time to Shine Today podcast varsity squad. But first, what's your favorite color and why?
I would say blue. Because I love the color of the ocean, right? There's nothing like a crystal blue ocean, as well as it's light on the eyes and easy to take in.
It's in your color wheel, you handsome devil. You know what I'm saying? And not to rub it in, but I'm looking at the Atlantic right now while we're having a little conversation here in South Florida. So, Jeff, let's get into, you're a rock star, man. I've watched your videos. I've dug into your content. You really level people up. You remind me a lot of how I work crowds and just really deliver fantastic content that they can go to level up on a consistent basis. But I want to get back before. Like, I understand that you don't do anything with your clients that you haven't tested on yourself. So obviously you put yourself through some testing with your methodologies and your protocol. But I want to know what got you there to help you level others up.
Yeah, it was the deepest pain I've ever felt in my life. And it was 8 years ago where I lost my mom to breast cancer. And I watched the woman that brought me into this world leave this world, literally take her last breath. So that mark has just been imprinted on my soul, my heart, and the fragility of life kind of smacked me in the face with that 2x4. And I said, okay, what is my purpose? What is my mission? And is what I'm doing today light me up and get me excited to get out of bed in the morning? And I asked myself that question. The answer was no. So I chose a different path. I was in corporate America at that point, chose to leave corporate America. And then I started discovering I didn't have these habits, these daily things that I was doing that were setting me up for success. I was kind of going down that path that everybody goes towards. And I was unfulfilled, unhappy, unsatisfied. And that's where I went down that deep rabbit hole of personal development and uncovered a little glimmer of gold underneath, all the layers that society, beliefs, all those things that we carry. And once I saw a little piece of my potential,
sure,
I've been on that never-ending quest to level up myself, but then also help others do the same, because closing that gap between your potential and where you're at currently, if you close that gap, then that stress, that overwhelm, that anxiety, that unhappiness, it starts to diminish, right? Sure. You feel more fulfilled. So that's the reason why, was some deep searing pain in losing my mom.
That's I can relate to that. I lost my mom to breast cancer as well in 2019. And it sucks. It sucks balls, especially if you have that kind of relationship. It sounds like you had with her as well. So that rabbit hole that you spoke about, when you first started into the personal development, like where did you first start? Was it a book? Was it a video? Was it a person? Just curious, because I did a deep dive on how I got started, and it was really a book that was handed to me called The Traveler's Gift by Andy Andrews. But like, where did it really start for you?
So I started looking up those personal development gurus like Tony Robbins and some others, and just hearing the narrative of you could get better and it's possible, and diving into some books. I mean, Mindset by Carol Dweck's a great one, right? Growth mindset versus fixed mindset, and everything can be learned. And that's a great one that I really dove into. And then just really discovering that I wasn't doing the things that set you up for success. I still remember I had opened a gym before I moved into peak performance coaching. And I remember one morning I was going to coach a class at 8 a.m. and I was still doing kind of the same things I did in my late teens, 20s, and 30s. I was hanging out with the guys till 3 in the morning, drinking like a fish.
Right.
And I stunk of alcohol. And my wife laid some, truth bomb down on me that morning. She said, how are you going to go teach a class about wellness when you reek of alcohol?
Ooh.
And at that moment, I was like, holy shit, you're right. Like, what am I doing with my life? And how can I promote something when I'm living something that's totally opposite to what I'm looking to promote? So, once I started to really uncover those things that were kryptonites in my life and adding on some things that could really move the needle, bookending my days is where I kind of always start. What's the last 30 minutes of the day look like? What's the first 30 minutes of the day look like?
Beautiful.
You control those. You
Right.
have some semblance of control in a chaotic, just everywhere world, right? So,
That's awesome that you said that. And you had that accountability partner in your wife. It's funny how they can really push that button, but they're 100% correct. I mean, it's funny. I don't even know why I'm going here, but I woke up with heartburn this morning for the first time in like 4 years.
Okay.
And I used to only get it when I boozed, right? And I didn't booze, so it's like but it was a reset reminder that there's something within me that has got to be reset and going back. So immediately I called my coach this morning. She put me on the right game plan. So I appreciate you being transparent with that, man. It's open, it's honest, and you have that accountability partner in your life. So do you work mainly with one-on-one clients, Jeff? Or are you more of a group coach, or a little bit of both, or what's your story there?
A little bit of both, but I'm leaning more and more on the one-on-one side. Beautiful. Because then you can get to such a deeper level, and people are willing to be vulnerable when they're talking one-on-one, when you have that personal relationship. And I feel like leaning into it is kind of the way life, I feel like, has evolved, right? We're so connected by social and phones, but yet we're disconnected, and we don't have deep conversations, and we don't question our beliefs, and don't ask why enough of what's going on. And kudos to you, Scott, for listening to your body and saying, wow, I need to do something, right? Something's wrong. And so many people just don't have that awareness, and they're going through the motions, and I call them kind of walking zombies going through life, just slugging along. And you lost your mom, I lost my mom. We only get one life to live.
Absolutely,
so
man.
Every day is a gift. Today is a gift we'll never get back.
Right.
You get the opportunity to choose what you're going to do with it. And so many people are just punting that choice. And I want to wake people up that there's a different path. You can choose to close that gap between your potential and where you're at right now, for sure.
Absolutely. And I love the way you just said that, because like so many people have a foot in the future, a foot in the past, and they piss over the present, right? So it's like, if you're in control of where you're at, that you can move forward. It's like sitting in a car, like you have the rear view mirror. It's like small for a reason, right? Where that's your history. It's great to visit there every once in a while, learn from it, but don't live there. And then you have a huge windshield in front of you, which is your future, but you can't drive that car unless you're paying attention to now. And I love that you brought that up. So when you're working with people, maybe in the discovery period, Jeff, and you're really starting to get to know each other, is there any secret sauce you can share with us there at the Morning Fire Coaching that maybe helps them identify their blind spot?
So it's a great question. And it's the example I used in my own life with my 14-year-old son last night. So he's an athlete, went to the gym yesterday, couldn't get all the machines he wanted, came back, and he was just demotivated. Like, he was literally almost in tears. And, I said, what's going on? And he said, I'm just not motivated. I said, listen, we need to talk. Like, let's talk about this. And I do this with clients as well. We've been programmed to listen to our feelings and to be in touch with, well, how am I feeling? Well, it's raining out. I was supposed to go for a run. I don't feel like it, so I don't do it. Right. And based upon our feelings, and this is kind of the way most people act, based upon how we're feeling, we take action or we don't take action. And our feelings can betray us. Right. And they betray us most of the time. Our mind will fight us if it's given the opportunity. So what happens is you have feelings, you don't take action, then your identity spirals down, right? You just feel crappier about yourself. I didn't follow through on my word. I didn't feel it. You're not going to do it tomorrow. And you just, it's demotivating. And this is what my son was experiencing. And I said, I love to flip that in the opposite way and define my identity when I wake up from an energy, work, love perspective. And I said, for him, I said, define your identity. You know, you're working out. He's a football and basketball player. I said, what if you were the greatest athlete in the history of your high school? That's going to be your identity every single day. And he smiled a little bit. He said, wow. I said, isn't that powerful? He said,
right.
I feel good. I said, so write it down every single day. You are future pacing your success. I hate fake it till you make it. I think we're not aligned and you feel like you're a liar. No, future pace your success. Here's where you're headed. So by defining your identity, you take action upon that identity. I define my energy side as a world-class athlete every day. Well, what would a world-class athlete do? He works out every day. He eats right. He gets quality sleep. He meditates. He goes for a walk after some meals to get out in the fresh air, regardless of how I'm feeling. And then what happens, identity, action, feeling, I feel great about myself and I'm spiraling upward because I'm actually following through on the things I know I need to do and I commit to doing personally. So that identity, that is a game changer for anybody and a great place to start, because then we're not relying on our feelings that can betray us. We're defining our identity, we're stepping into it, and we're taking action from it.
That's beautiful, man. And I love that the action is part of that as well. And so when you're maybe speaking with a new client or or prospect, if you will, is there any good question that you wish they would ask you but never do?
So this is a great one. And I just thought about this the other day. There's a new documentary out on Netflix called Stutz, and it's about Phil Stutz, a coach, and Jonah Hill put it together. And it was just awesome because Jonah Hill is actually interviewing him. And Phil Stutz talks to Jonah, and Jonah's figuring something out. And then Jonah says, do you ever struggle with stuff? And Coach Stutz is like, are you freaking kidding me? I struggle with it just like you do. So like, that was just, I got goosebumps right now telling it, because I think so many times, and even as coaches, we feel we're in the same battle that every single person on this planet is in with their mind. And you're never going to win it. You're only going to have strategies, tools, tactics, algorithms, processes behind the scenes that you can snap back quicker. The difference between the people that are actualizing their potential and closing that gap is they have these systems. So when they have a dip, they can get out of it real quick, rather than how I used to be in my teens and 20s and 30s. I would stay stuck in that rut for weeks. I mean, I was voted biggest complainer in my high school class on the senior side. I mean, if that's
I can't see it, man. Wow.
I was. And even one of my fraternity brothers in college said, you know what, you were kind of a Debbie Downer like years later. And I was like, holy crap, there's two instances. And so, it doesn't matter where you start. You can always finish, and you can always evolve, and you can always iterate. And
it's so crazy that it took a life event, in a sense, a tragic one, to really make you see that. I know that you probably were practicing like before that, but still to really make you kind of see and understand how life can be. And let's unpack that a little bit. Have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
I have.
All right, let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly, man.
Okay.
You brought up your younger self. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Wick. What kind of knowledge nuggets might you drop on him at 22? Not so much to change anything, because you have your journey, you have your path, but maybe help him shorten the learning curve, blast through and level up maybe just a little bit quicker.
Don't be afraid to step into who you are, and don't be afraid to go away from the well-worn path, right? And I think I just wanted to be a part of the groups and fit in, but I always had like this itch on the back of my neck that I knew I had more inside, but I was gripped with fear and what would people think, and that's why I didn't take some of the shots that I probably should have back then.
Sure.
Right? Yeah.
I love that you're so transparent, man. That's freaking awesome. I mean, one of my coaches, Bert, is always like, do it scared. Like, no matter what, man, there's ways. And like how you bookend your days, that really takes a lot of that fear out, because you have that plan. Because as coaches, I'm not a consultant, I'm a coach. Like, I don't, like, many of my clients, 7, 8, 9-figure earners, and they forgot more about business than I will ever know.
Right.
to be able to see that light bulb, because everybody knows what they want, right? They just don't know how to talk themselves into it. So that's awesome. Like I've watched a lot of your stuff, and I know that you do it that way as well, and to pick up those knowledge nuggets and push them forward. So how do you want your dash remembered, man? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date and death date, man. Hopefully it's way down the road. But how does Jeff want his dash remembered?
It's going to be after I'm 100, because I got a target age. I'm going to live past 100. So I still got some quality years ahead of me. But one that he played all out, right? He played full out. Wasn't scared to take shots once he finally realized that, hey, everybody has that fear, right? And made a significant dent in the universe by impacting as many people as I can. And it could be just a conversation. I mean, I've had individuals that have just had a half an hour conversation with me. I remember the guy, he was dad, about ready to be a dad, and he was boozing all day long and he couldn't get over it. And he sent me a note a couple months later, said, "You changed my life with just that conversation. I checked myself in, I got some help, and now I'm back on this path." So just being known that I played all out, I was a little bit crazy, but crazy changes the world, and that, you know, I cared, and I loved all those around me to the fullest extent.
What's been your biggest win in the past 7 days?
In the past 7 days, I hit 15,000 pull-ups for the year. So I put that out there.
Bro,
I'm 47 years young, and I last year I did 100,000 push-ups. This year I said, all right, I'm going to do those push-ups, but I need to level up somewhere else. I said, pull-ups is the next one. So just chipping away at that.
That's awesome. I do a lot. It's funny because I do a lot of mine for my fellow veterans, right? And so I'm doing the 830 burpees, 1,500 push-ups, whatever, you know, it comes to in the month. And some days I don't want to, but when you have that person out there that you're doing it for, you know, to raise that money, it helps a lot. I love that you're doing that, man, and continuously leveling up. So what do you think people misunderstand the most about Jeff?
New people that come into my world think that I was born this way, and I just wasn't, right? I was a shy, introverted kid. I still remember at 6 years old, my late mother would tell me this story that I wanted to go over to a buddy's house to play, and she had to come with me.
Really?
Because I was so shy. And then biggest complainer, right? As I said, high school, Debbie Downer. And when I was in the corporate space, I was the last person to talk in a meeting. I was scared to death to speak up. And it's just, you wouldn't know that if you watched me now or heard me speak, or you know, when I'm presenting to a group.
I would never have thought that, bro.
It was terrifying, but I stepped into that fear, right? I remember going to a Toastmasters club, and they welcomed the new people to the group and to the meeting. And then they asked a question, who would like, you know, everybody needs to get up and speak. Who would like to go first? And I made a commitment to myself before I went in. I would do things that were uncomfortable. I raised my hand first, had the room rocking, and I said, what am I scared of? Like, I need to get better at this. So, you know, those new people in my network would be shocked at hearing those things. You
and I are like brothers with different mothers, dude. Like, it's funny because they see me on stage. I start every speech on a trampoline, right? And I do it for the lymphatic clean out when I'm talking. And there's another reason why I do it, because everyone's head's going like this, and they're about to affirm what I'm about to speak about. But they're like, dude, and usually I get off stage, I'll talk for 15, 20 minutes, you know, your obligation time with the crowd. And then I usually bail. And they're like, where's Fergie? I'm an introvert, man. You ask my girl, you can ask everybody. Like, I'm the first one at a kava bar. I like to drink kava. It's a root. It's awesome. And I like to sit there and just, you know, work on stuff by myself. I'll go into restaurants by myself. I have no problem. But for some reason, I can flip that switch. I have no idea where it came from. Do you know where it came from for you?
I did so many reps, right? I've done over 1,400 podcast episodes. I've done so many reps those reps bred confidence in what I'm speaking about, right? Bro. And I feel like that is such a lost piece of the equation, right? Rep. That breeds confidence, where when I'm going to speak to a group of 100, 150 that I was just speaking at the other week, I know exactly what I'm going to talk about. I just have bullet points and I can deliver it. And I'm just like you. Like, I have people stand up, they take 3 breaths in, lead them through a little guided meditation.
Yeah,
I
man.
said, we're gonna yell boom and pound our chest. I'm gonna count down 3, 2, 1. You can close your eyes if you're self-conscious, and we all go boom, and the room vibrates with energy.
Dude.
And we kind of go from there. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. Anything keep Jeff up at night?
Not really. My wife is always pissed off because I can fall asleep in the matter
you're
of
one
like
of those
6 or
people,
7
man.
seconds. I am because I get up and I rock hard all day long. She's like, how can you fall asleep? Literally, I'm in the middle of a sentence and your head hit the pillow and it's 7 seconds later.
Oh, that's a superpower. Susan has it too, man. Like me, I'm a lot better than I was before, Wick, but like Susan can be, I've counted her down 8 seconds one time.
Yeah.
I'm like, that to me, that's a superpower just for recovery and whatnot. So how about, what is your definition of a life well lived?
Serving and impacting others to the best of your ability. And I feel like that's so lost in today's society and world is how can I help and serve somebody else? And I love connecting with people one-on-one. And one of the things I always say is, how can I help you?
Yeah.
And I've had people just shocked that I even asked that question.
Yeah.
So,
it all goes back to Zig, right? We can get anything we want by helping as many people do what they want. And you're such a go-giver, man. That's fantastic. And squad, we're going to take my good friend Jeff here through our leveling up lightning round just as soon as we get back from thanking our sponsors and affiliates. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. We are back, and Jeff, you and I are going to meet one day. We're going to rock some stages, do some fun things, and probably some of these questions we'll probably talk about in 15, 20 minutes over each one of them. But you got 5 seconds with no explanation. So you ready to rock?
Ready to go.
Let's level up. Jeff, what is the best leveling up advice you've ever received?
Daily, consistent work.
Beautiful. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
Meditation, almost 5 years straight, every single day.
That's freaking fantastic. So you see me walking down the street, you're like, man, Fergie looks like he's in a doldrums. Other than Rise, Fight, Love, Repeat, what book might you hand me?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins.
Goggins. I know Goggins. So from back in the military, dude. That's beautiful, man. So what's your most commonly used emoji when you text?
Fire.
I love it. Nicknames growing up?
Wick.
That's what I call you. I love it,
yeah,
man.
You got it.
Chess, checkers, or Monopoly?
Monopoly all day long.
Beautiful. Go-to ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
Beautiful. There's a sandwich called the Wick. The Morning Fire Wick. Build that sandwich for me, homie.
Oh boy. It's gonna be on a nice sesame long roll like we've got outside of Philadelphia. And
awesome.
It's gonna be filled with some chunks of mozzarella, some roasted red peppers, and some salami and ham. And that's
love that you put a little meat on there.
Yeah,
good
for
stuff,
sure,
man. Favorite charity and organization like to give your time or money to?
My wife's on the board of A Mother's Wish. My youngest son has Crohn's, so love giving my time and raising money for them.
Thank you, man. Thank you for doing that, brother. And last question, you can elaborate on this one, but what is the best decade of music? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
And I'm 80s all the way.
Me
right?
too, bro.
There's nothing like some hair band, metal rock.
Dude.
And then it led into, some pretty good years from a rap perspective. That was kind of how my evolution was. But there's nothing like throwing on some, Metallica, Def Leppard, Motley Crue, Guns N' Roses. So there.
Dude, everything like the 70s is great. I usually do have the 70s on the background because it reminds me of my mom, right? Gotcha. Growing up, I was born in 72, so I kind of grew up listening to stuff she did. But the 80s, like you just mentioned, you had the rap come on with Beastie Boys and Run DMC, and then you had the Big Hair Don't Care, the metal bands, the Invasions from like U2 from Ireland, Men at Work from Australia, and then you had all the one namers. Like if you said Michael, you knew who you were talking about, whether it's Jordan or Jackson, right? You had Madonna, one namer, Prince, one namer. Like they are all that. You and I are buds, man, friends to the end now, brother. So, Wick, how can we find you, bro?
Yeah, you can go out to themorningfire.com. That's my website. Got a ton of content out there. I'm out on all socials. If you want to grab my book, Rise, Fight, Love, Repeat, Ignite Your Morning Fire, you can find that on Amazon. And I've got a podcast, Your Hidden Edge, where we uncover that hidden edge that helps you level up in life.
Is it a monologue or do you interview people?
So I monologue twice per week and then one an interview per week. So
Beautiful.
got 5 to 10 minute sessions twice per week and then about 30-minute interview each week.
Beautiful. I can't wait to get on there. Hint, hint.
Yeah, man.
Hey, and let's do a book giveaway for the Rise, Fight, Love, people. Tell us a little bit about your book, bro.
So that's all about bookending your days, right? How do you control that last 30 minutes of the day? How do you prepare for success? Then what's that first 30 minutes look like? How do you stack all these wins and get this momentum, this progress, this focus, this energy? And it's what I've used to really level up in my life and step into the greatest version of myself.
That's beautiful. And squad, we're going to do a book giveaway. We're on Time to Shine Today's Dime. I'm going to buy a copy, actually 2 copies for the first people that put fire it up in any of our social, or even text us that at 561-440-3830. But it could be Pinterest, Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever you're going to see this podcast or hear it, just put fired up, and I'll make sure that I get the books. And Jeff, you don't mind just handcocking them and mailing them out and, taking care of the postage? That'd be fantastic, brother, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Jeff, do me one last solid and leave us with one last knowledge nugget that we can take with us, internalize, and take action on.
Today is a gift you will never get again, and you can choose to do whatever you want, but it is a gift that you'll never get again, so choose wisely.
Yes. In squad, we have just had fantastic free masterclass from my boy Wick here, Jeff Wickersham, from Morning Fire Coaching. And, he went through the deepest pain about 8 years ago, losing his mom to breast cancer, the fragility of life, and this really smacked him in his face. And it really kind of lit him up. He knew he was living kind of unfulfilled, unhappy, and unsatisfied. So he really worked to do what he does with his clients right now, closing the gap between his potential and where he is, to really to feel a little bit more fulfilled, and it really came from taking responsibility, which I believe is the ability to respond. And with that, his wife called him out and said, listen, man, if you're going to walk the walk you have, or talk that talk, you got to walk it. So he really ship shape, bookend his days. And he reminds us that, we're programmed to listen to our feelings. We either take action or we don't take action. He reminds us that feelings will betray us. So with no action taken, your identity will plummet and you're not going to close that gap anymore. He's somebody that's a fantastic coach. I can see him in sessions really leaning in, listening with his neck. That's what I'd like to call it, and really getting it and digging deep to find that blind spot for you. And when you're starting to work with a coach, ask him about his troubles or his struggles that he's had. A coach should be transparent in how he worked and really game planned with his struggles. Because Jeff, again, I said before, is somebody that's not going to test anything on you that he hasn't really worked on himself. Okay, so he's going to be remembered as someone really that slid across home plate, bumped, bruised, but also making an impact in everybody that he could. And he reminds us, don't be afraid to step into who you are. And if you don't know how to do that, like my good friend Leah Woodford would say, get your asking gear. Ask and ask people that have been there, walk that walk, is taking action, like Jeff said, daily to really help you step into that fear. And also understand that reps is going to breed confidence in you. So whatever Jeff puts you on, the game plan that he works with you, do the reps, because that will bring the confidence out, which will change that identity, which will really close that gap, and reminds us last that today is a gift you will never get again. So choose wisely to really level up. And that's what my good friend Jeff does. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's earned his varsity squad letter here at Time to Shine today, man. It's a blessing to have you on. Absolutely love your guts. And I can't wait to collaborate with you in the future, brother.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Chat soon, Jeff.